In Brazil, we face loads of tough challenges related to the inequality and to our history of social disparities in the country. So I not necessarily see evidence as so important, but I see it as part of a complex puzzle. And knowledge production should be part of this puzzle, alongside other types of evidence, such as civil society preferences, values, even the politics. In our experience, we have researchers in very important social areas such as human rights and education and public safety that are not only very good researchers but are very engaged with promoting equity. So when we get this marriage with evidence and equity, we do advance a lot in this debate on how to promote social justice. When we created Veredas, our NGO, we decided from scratch we wouldn't focus on health exclusively because it was so overpopulated already in this debate of evidence. So we tried to tackle other subjects like labor market inclusion, human rights, specifically criminal justice system that in Brazil it's very important, youth policies that are transversal to other topics. The first thing we learned is that the health sector had a lot of material already, but they don't translate perfectly to other social sectors because each sector has its own language, its own values, its own people, opening space for the diversity that each field brings to the table and shaping the tools to be something that everyone is comfortable using and citizens are empowered to use also. This was key for us. You should pay a lot of attention to the local context, the territory. This is where health is life, right? You should really hear people and have active social participation efforts. Evidence itself won't do much without this key component. And you should always combine the global and the local knowledge in all levels that a policy is implemented. So I think the health sector has done a lot in advancing how we understand knowledge translation, mostly as a process that is very iterative, that puts many diverse people in the same table, and that combines both global and local knowledge to the best solution possible to a tricky problem. The National Council of Justice in Brazil is responsible for all guidelines and normative pieces that guide the work of all the judicial system in the country. They brainstorm loads of key social problems they were facing there in the judiciary branch, and we said, can we maybe validate this with stakeholders all over the country, both citizens and judges and courthouses, to understand if your priority at the national level is the same. And we made a case to provide evidence for what was the priority at the local level, and it was stigma against formerly incarcerated people and their families. The National Justice Council said, okay, let's build a course and a normative so all judges and all services that are related to the judicial system that have contact with incarcerated people and their families follow these guidelines. So from this interaction, we were able to reach every service in the country. I think this is how our portfolio gets bigger and better and more adapted to the different social sectors that we work, because we always do everything in radical collaboration. inspired by many networks such as the Africa Evidence Network, we created in 2021 the Brazilian Coalition for Evidence. We understood that we had so many shared challenges in the Global South, and the way we do things in the Global South is not exactly the way we do things in the Global North. So not only we need to adapt the tools for different social sectors, we need to adapt the tools for our culture and our historical background and our challenges as countries that face a really specific type of political development. And then we created also the Latin America and the Caribbean Hub with partners from Chile, Colombia, and Trinidad and Tobago. Whenever something is done, it should be disseminated to everyone interested in that topic so they can focus really on the implementation at the local level. If it's done by Colombia, I can translate and use it in Brazil and then just adapt to my local context. This is the idea behind both networks, and we are working tirelessly to make both the country and the region be more integrated. The most important thing we learned is that if we have the space and the resource to be together, to develop trusts, to think together about shared challenges, we overcome them faster and with better quality. And of course, PEERSS is an international network that has connected us not only with the Latin American and the Caribbean region, but with the African countries. Our networks are very much mirroring the work of Africa Evidence Network. We are learning from their mistakes. We are learning from their successes. We also are able to collaborate with Chinese colleagues, colleagues from the UK, from Lebanon. So the value it brings, it's very much so about not feeling alone, seeing there is a future to this, and having the time and space to be creative, to think outside the box, to understand that complex challenges need loads of minds to be solved.